Welcome to Making Maverick Moves, the show where we celebrate the bold, the unconventional, and those who dare to defy the odds to make a real impact. I'm Gina L. Osborn, and here we do more than just tell inspiring stories. Yes, we interview trailblazers who have made maverick moves, and we'll also bring in experts who will help us get to the point where we can make our own maverick moves. But while we're on that journey, I'll be sharing power moves and leadership lessons to empower and educate us all to be better leaders so that when the time comes, we're ready to take the leap. Today, we're talking about leadership, real leadership, not power plays, not office politics, not the toxic mean girl gang mentality that turns workplaces into battlefields. We're talking about what it means to lead with purpose and integrity while taking care of those coming up behind us. Because real mavericks don't climb alone. We lift as we rise. Last year, I wrote an article that created quite a buzz on LinkedIn. It was called Mean Girls Aren't Leaders. The workplace culture should never be a battlefield. So I'll share some thoughts on this today, keeping in mind that it takes a maverick move to stomp out a toxic work environment. Let's be honest, some workplaces feel more like battlegrounds than places of innovation. I saw it firsthand at a previous agency where a small, toxic clique was more concerned with protecting their turf than advancing the mission. If you weren't in the gang, you were sidelined, manipulated, and gaslit. And the worst part? The culture wasn't about excellence. It was about survival. Instead of fostering new ideas, people walked on eggshells, bracing for the next attack. I recently spoke with a former colleague from that same agency who told me that she had had enough. She described the workplace as being ruled by a mean girl gang, and I knew exactly what she meant. I had lived it. But hearing her words hit differently because at that moment, I was reflecting on the kind of leadership I had the privilege of experiencing during my Army and FBI careers. The contrast couldn't be clearer. Just days before that conversation with my former colleague, I was caring for my retired Army mentor after her surgery. I met her in 1991 when I was a young staff sergeant, and she was a chief warrant officer leading a high-profile espionage investigation. She commanded with quiet strength, no manipulation, no intimidation, just pure, unshakable leadership. And the respect she commanded, she earned it through integrity, competence, and the ability to empower those around her. She enlisted in the Women's Army Corps in the 1970s, back when leadership opportunities for women were scarce. But she didn't just break barriers, she obliterated them. She led with grace, power, and the understanding that true leadership isn't about control. It's about creating an environment where people can thrive. If that wasn't enough of an example, before her surgery, my mentor introduced me to one of her closest friends, one of the first female Army paratroopers. They've been friends for decades. When the paratrooper developed dementia, my mentor did what true leaders do. She stepped up. She moved her friend across the country, found her a beautiful memory care facility, and now cares for her daily. And let me tell you, this paratrooper, she's still a maverick. She's out there taking care of one of her neighbor's dogs who goes out with her every day when she walks. That's what sisterhood looks like. That's what real leadership is about. Back in the day, there weren't many women in leadership roles. So when we found each other, we held on tight. It wasn't about outshining one another. It was about making sure none of us dimmed our lights. We understood something the mean girl gang never will. True leadership isn't about exclusion. It's about lifting others, creating opportunities, and leaving the ladder down so the next person can climb. When I told my former colleague this story, she half-jokingly asked if my gang was accepting new members. And you know what? We are. There's always room in this circle for anyone who leads with strength, courage, and solidarity. So, as leaders, how do we take a stand? How do we transform toxic workplaces into places of real leadership? If you're ready to make a maverick move, here are 7 ways to build a culture that empowers rather than destroys. Celebrate each other's wins. Success isn't a pie with limited slices. There's enough for everyone. Recognize and amplify the achievements of the people around you. Next, create safe spaces for open dialogue. People thrive when they feel heard. Encourage open, honest conversations without fear of judgment or punishment. Choose mentorship over competition. Be the mentor you wish you had. Share knowledge, offer guidance, and help your colleagues grow. Stand up for each other. Toxic cultures thrive on isolation. When you see someone being mistreated, speak up. Trust your people to make decisions. Leadership isn't about control, it's about empowerment. Give people the freedom to own their roles and learn from their experiences. Avoid micromanagement. Let your troops find their own solutions. Set the direction, but let your team figure out the best path. That's how innovation happens. And last, foster inclusivity, not exclusivity. Real strength comes from diversity. Open the circle, invite new voices, again, lift as you rise. At the end of the day, leadership is about impact. It's about leaving a legacy of empowerment, not destruction. As Margaret Thatcher famously said, being powerful is like being a lady. If you have to tell people you are, you aren't. True power doesn't come from tearing others down. It comes from lifting others up. And if that's the kind of leader you are, or the kind you aspire to be, then welcome to Team Maverick. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Making Maverick Moves. If you found this message valuable, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Until next time, be unapologetically fearless.
Making Maverick Moves with Gina L. Osborn is produced and edited by Lisa Osborn. Theme music, Maverick Heart, is by retired IRS criminal investigative attaché Clarissa Balmaceda. Connect with us on social media through GinaLOsborn.com/Making Maverick Moves. And don't miss an episode. Subscribe to Making Maverick Moves wherever you get your podcasts.